Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Sociology and Coffee. My name is Shantae Mitchum, and I am new to this whole idea of creating videos, but I love sociology and I love engaging with people, and so I decided to make videos. So we'll see how this goes. First and foremost, I just have to show you my coffee mug. So this was created by a Black woman who is very close friends with my family, and her company's name is Junebug Design and Events. You can find it on Instagram, but I just love this coffee cup because it's just empowering and looks kind of like my hair when it's not in braids. And so being able to see myself and I love this coffee mug. So the first topic that we're gonna talk about in this vlog series is gonna be this more recent push to defund the police. And I say more recent because this idea is not new, and yet it's gained some traction recently due to the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Although, you know, Black communities specifically, we know that these deaths are not new. We know that these experiences with police are not new. And we also know that people are jumping on board or kind of showing more support now more than ever. And you know, there's kind of an argument for that, right? Like some people say that this has become more visible. Like now that we have social media and we have people who are recording, public people on the sidewalk specifically who are recording these interactions between specifically Black folks and the police. I'm not sure that I 100% agree with the fact that, you know, people are becoming more aware because of social media. I think that it helps, but also, you know, the beating of Rodney King was caught on video. Emmett Till's, you know, open casket, dead body went front page on a newspaper when he was killed. And so, you know, Black death is not new to the United States, and visible Black death is not new to the United States. So let me know your thoughts on that one. We might hold that one for a whole nother series. But my first topic, again, this idea of defunding the police. So just to kind of be clear on what that means, it does not, at least in a general sense, right? Because we can't say all people think that no money should go into the police, right? And so this movement is just designed for people to understand that we are spending a lot of money within police departments that end up harming communities of color, so that Black communities, Brown, Latinx communities, Chicanx communities, and poor communities. And those communities could use that money elsewhere. So we're spending a lot of money in police departments that a lot of the police who work in the departments don't actually live in that neighborhood. So I'll say that again. A lot of the police that work within departments in poor communities of color do not live in that neighborhood. And so we are spending money paying police officers who then take their money and spend it outside of that neighborhood. They're not shopping at the local grocery stores. They are not spending money at the gas stations. They're not spending money in general within these communities. They're taking their money and moving to the suburbs, moving to more affluent communities, right? And so that kind of causes me to question this idea of what police are supposed to be doing for the community, what they should be doing, and how it kind of turns out in practice. And so I just kind of want to give some statistics that are specific to San Diego County, so you can find these directly from San Diego County. Their website, they do have all of this information made public and available to the public. So really kind of click in. I'm going to be very brief. But one, there's two different budgets. So there's the San Diego Sheriff Department budget, and then there's the San Diego Police Department budget. And so it's important to understand that those are two distinct entities. And so the one that I am going to be talking about is specific to the police department. So that's actual boots on the ground. Wow, that reference was very militarized, but also fitting. So that's the boots on the ground police officers, that's the parks and recreations, the libraries, so, you know, having security guards and things like that, operating libraries. This large category of other, which I'm very interested in, but it's not very explicit on the website. And that actually makes up more than half of the budget, is this other category. Something else to think about when you're talking about defunding the police is like, where's our money really going? And if you're gonna categorize things, should there really be an other? Because what does that really mean? But anyways, and then so the total budget for the fiscal year 1920 for the San Diego Police Department was $539 million. $539 million. Okay, I just had to pause there because I'm a little shook. The fiscal year 2021 is actually projected to go up. So that one is projected at $566 million. And so overall, as I'm looking at this chart and this breakdown of the San Diego Police Department budget, it is on the constant increase. So from 2011 to 2012, it was at 394 million. It's now going up to 566 million. Okay, just had to make sure that was very clear. And so to kind of connect this to sociology, there's this concept called the sociological imagination. And so it was coined by a sociologist named C. Wright Mills back in 1959. It's one of his most famous books. It's a text that you'll read in an introductory level course. Oftentimes just kind of the first part. So he talks about the promise of sociology, and the sociological imagination is basically this awareness of who we are as individuals and the social forces that shape our lives. So understanding that we are all connected to each other, one, our experiences, depending on kind of all these social factors and these influences and institutions, how we interact with them is going to really kind of determine our outcomes, right? Like what we experience in life, our history. So historical context is very important in sociology. And I'll give an example as to why, to kind of connect this to defund the police. And so the first, sociological term is this idea, this understanding of the difference between private troubles and public issues. And so when we're talking about defund the police, a private trouble would be a Black man gets pulled over by the police and, maybe for a broken taillight, right? So just that. We'll just kind of stop that there, right? So that's a private trouble. Maybe some of you are thinking, well, get your taillight fixed. Well, don't drive a car, you can get a ticket, whatever the case may be. Viewing it in that type of lens is looking at it through a very individual, private trouble type of issue. So to take this into a larger public issue would be to understand that the way that Black folks are engaged by police influences the way that we navigate the world, okay? So a lot of you, I know me, every time I see a police officer, I don't care if I am with my child, with my mother, driving in my car, getting gas, it doesn't matter. I'm physically, like it's a physical response, like shaken, right? And that's because I've experienced interactions with police that have not been positive, period. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, there's a lot of good cops, they're people, they want to return home to their families, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But your experiences and how you navigate your social world is directly connected to all of the different positions that you occupy. So me walking in this world as a Black woman, as a lighter skinned Black woman, is very different than someone who's walking around as a white woman or a white man, or even a darker skinned Black woman or darker skinned Black man. So how we experience our world is, and I'm being very simplistic and sticking to race and gender, but we know that there's this idea of intersectionality, so meaning like all of your identities play a role in how you navigate your social world. So that means sexual orientation, that means gender identity and expression, class status, all of those really impact how you navigate the world. It impacts how you see the world, and also how you experience the world, right? And so me being visibly shaken by interacting with police is directly related to how my community, how my people have been treated and interacted and engaged by police. And so just in a very, to kind of provide some historical context to the culture of policing, one, and the relationship between policing and the Black community specifically, is to look at this program that was established by President Hoover, called COINTELPRO. And so it stands for Counterintelligence Program. So it was a program established in the FBI back in 1956. It lasted all the way to 1971. And they were doing very illegal things in order to shut down political leaders, specifically the Black Panther Party leaders, because they were criticizing policing. They were criticizing government. They were saying that this is not working for our people. We are being oppressed by this system. We are marginalized. We want to take care of ourselves. And the government did not like that. They wanted to shut those ideologies down. And so they established COINTELPRO that ended up being responsible for a lot of our very loud, vocal Black leaders being taken down, both physically, so a lot of them died, as we know. Martin Luther King was on the watch list for COINTELPRO, Huey P. Newton, there was Assata Shakur. There's all these people who were very vocal about being Black proud and against a system that is constantly designed to oppress us, right? So this program, funded by the government, so it operated within the government, was established to take down Black leaders. I just want to emphasize, funded by the government, right? And so you have programs that were literally established to take down the Black community, and it did. It really did. We, experienced a very tough time politically. A lot of our leaders, like I said, were killed, murdered. And so as a Black person navigating my world, right, with knowledge of how easily the government can create something to take down powerful people, to take down people who have a different viewpoint or ideology than them, it shapes my social world, and it shapes my experiences that I have, and the conversations that I have with my daughter, the conversations I have with my family, and also to kind of know that I myself have had experiences with police. My husband has had experiences with police that were not at all within the confines of the law, right? So what they did was illegal. And so that is the relationship that I have with police, that a lot of people who look like me have with police. And so when you see these constant issues and Black people being murdered at the hands of police, you can't ignore the relationship between, or the history between policing and the Black community. You can't ignore it. So you can't ignore how COINTELPRO is a government program that was funded, that literally took down our people, was designed to dismantle the Black Panther Party. You can't ignore that Black people are more likely to be arrested, stopped, and killed by the hands of police. And I think it's important also for me to know, just for the naysayers out there, is yes, we know statistically, or maybe some of you don't know, this may be new news, but I just want to throw it out there, is yes, white people are also killed by the police. They are actually, if you look at the numbers, they are killed, they make up a larger percentage of those killed by the police. And I just would like to make it very clear that it is because they make up more of the population, period. Okay. So what we look at when we're looking at Black community and policing is we look at the fact that we are disproportionately impacted by policing. So that means in a neighborhood where maybe there's only 3%, and I'm making up these statistics, but I can find real ones for you. But just as an example, let's say you're in a neighborhood that makes up your Black people make up 3% of that neighborhood, but they make up 33% of police stops. That is what we're talking about. We are not talking about the fact that more white people get killed by police. You know, that just goes to show that there is an issue in culture with the culture of policing, but we're talking about disproportionate impact. And so disproportionate impact is when the numbers are overrepresented. So you are killing more or stopping more Black people than there are Black people in that neighborhood. So that means there's a lot of repeat stops. There's a lot of people who are constantly engaging with the police within the same neighborhood. And so hopefully that provides a little context. I personally, just to kind of insert my personal opinion, I do think that the money that we are spending way too much money within the police departments. And I want to specify police departments. I do know that the sheriff department also houses and funds health and human services. And so that's things like child protective services and things like that. So we really need to kind of direct that conversation to what we are specifically talking about, which is like the boots on the ground, policing, the constant surveillance, like all the money that is spent within the process. That money could be utilized in the community. So there is a direct relationship between community resources, community health, community services, and crime. So this argument that poor communities need more police because they're committing more crime is false, right? So we see crime and criminality increase when there's a lack there's like a lack of resources. So maybe they don't have boys and girls clubs, after school programs. They don't have things to do, right? So you have kids who get out of school, and because they're in a poor community, because no one has really invested the money in that community, they don't have anything to do. And so naturally, what are they going to do? They're going to end up getting in trouble. And so if we are able to put more money, generate more revenue within poor communities, and give the kids, give the youth something to do, something to be a part of, something to be involved in, we do see a decrease in crime in those poor neighborhoods. So if you take money from the police department and establish some sort of community-based, and I'm not going to use the word policing, community-based resource center, right? Like community-based resource center with that same amount of money, like imagine how different that community would look. It would look a lot different. And so that is going to be the first. I really hope that you were able to gain something from this video. I also hope that you will continue to have these types of conversations, and cheers.